thank you for joining us on this episode of Cardinal Film Bites. I'm your host, judge, and moderator, Mark Rollins. We were just talking about seals and clap sings and how seals do clap sings. Yeah, it's don't fact check that, Vaughn. It's not true. So, I think we all know the formula, but in case you're tuning in for the first time, we start with a 60-second intro in which our competitors give their introduction to their argument. We go to a 5-minute forum where they duke it out, and then a 30-second conclusion to tie it all up, and then I judge them based on their arguments. But let's meet the competitors today, shall we? We have Tyler, we have Drew, we have, last but not least, Kyle. So, we'll go in that order, Tyler, Drew, and Kyle, and they will introduce themselves, give a fun fact about themselves, their name, their year, the major, the whole shebang. So, Tyler.
Hello, my name is Tyler Moore. I am an advertising senior here at Ball State University, and a fun fact about me is I was named after Mary Tyler Moore from the newspaper. My parents didn't know what to name me, so they went to the entertainment section of the newspaper.
Love it.
Yes.
Everybody loves Mary Tyler Moore, so, you know. Awesome. And Drew.
My name is Drew Gadosh. I'm a senior here on Ball State University's campus. I'm a public communication major, creative writing minor, and a fun fact about me is that I swear and pray by Miss Carly Slay Jepsen.
It's always a good time.
Oh.
With Carly. Right? Yeah, she sang that, right?
Yes.
Okay, making sure. It's always a hit. It's always like a 90% miss with my pop culture reference, and so just making sure. And Kyle.
Hello, I'm Kyle Israel. I am a junior TCOM major with minors in both creative writing and theater. And a fun fact about me is I wanted to be a Spanish man named Terrence, but that never happened.
Still plenty of time, Kyle.
Is there? It's too late now. It's too late.
I'm sorry.
There's no new save game for a game save file here. It's too late.
Before we begin, I want to remind our viewers that to retweet our tweets for a chance to win a $10 AMC gift card in which you can go see a movie, which I am told is really just a bunch of pictures mashed up together to look like they're moving. Isn't that technology? Love it. Okay, so we'll go straight into our question, which is pitch an LGBTQ plus remake. So to clarify, this is a movie that is not traditionally seen with LGBTQ plus themes, but it's going to be remade, so it does have those themes. So we'll start with Kyle, go to Tyler, and finish with Drew with our introductions.
All right, so the movie I want to talk about today already has a lot of gay positive undertones, but chooses to instead focus on a heterosexual love triangle. I am, of course, talking about the 2013 Disney classic, Frozen. Now, it's entirely likely Elsa's going to be given a role in the LGBT plus community in the sequel, and it's also entirely likely that she is already in Frozen. However, rather than let that continue as an understated fact, I would argue let us instead make that explicit. Let us instead split the story arc between Anna's relationships with Kristoff and Hans and Elsa's relationship with perhaps a palace servant girl who would bring her food while she was isolated in her room, thereby giving a sense of inclusivity to LGBTQ plus youth watching Frozen.
Ooh, interesting. We'll go to Tyler next.
I will be pitching a remake of the extremely popular cult classic Pretty Woman. My remake would involve a trans woman in the place of Vivian, played by a trans actor, who gets picked up by a wealthy man, unknown at the time of pickup, that she in fact is a trans woman, and until on the ride back to the hotel, she discloses the information. Once back at the hotel, the conversation unfolds more, and the man gets an insight into trans sex working. He turns out to be widely curious with the woman, and open-minded, and spends quite a bit of time together, just like the OG movie. They will end up falling in love with each other with a minor plot twist that the rags to riches would actually involve more of her showing the side of trans working and trans life. I think this could give good insight into trans culture, which we do not have, and specifically trans sex working culture.
Interesting. And we'll finish off with Drew.
I will be pitching a remake of Hairspray involving Tracy Turnblad, now a thick and eccentric gay boy who is navigating a 1960s Baltimore while assisting in integrating television at the time. Now, hear me out. Seaweed will be cast as a woman so that Penny can end up in an interracial lesbian relationship. Edna, instead of being a man in drag, will be a trans woman who adopted Tracy. And this whole time, they're helping a plucky and queer group of people of color to try and get their voice on television. This also shows you that my young Tracy Turnblad can show that you can be any gender while fighting for Miss Teenage Hairspray.
All right. Well, let's go straight into the forum then.
I would like to point out that Let It Go is already basically a coming out anthem.
I think that's my biggest problem with Frozen and why you picked it is because it already has so many so many queer undertones in the movie.
That's my argument is why stay understated and instead go into explicit.
But I think that if it was to become more queer than it already is, because I think you can say that it's a little queer as it is now.
It's a lot of queer.
It's a lot of queer, and I don't think it would have a big societal impact. I don't think it would change much being remade with queer leads.
Well, rather than LGBTQ plus youth wondering whether Elsa embodies them, they can instead know for a fact that Elsa embodies them. That's my entire argument, understated versus explicit, and in this case, I'm arguing for explicit.
If you want to argue about songs that could be about coming out, we have a slew of Hairspray songs that could be about coming out. Between I Can Hear the Bells, when you find out that our young Tracy Turnblad is in love with Link, you have Link's, I can't even think of the name of the song, but you know where he's singing to the prison bars. He discovers he's in love with this young Tracy. And you also have The Nicest Kids in Town, which could be renamed The Queerest Kids in Town.
See, I think Hairspray has the same problem. I think it is currently a direct reflection of many queer people. It has queer undertones in it. It has queer undertones. It's about people who are different.
Point me to one queer character in Hairspray. Point me to one queer character other than the fact that the mother is played by a man in drag, but is not distinctly a man in drag as a character. It is supposed to just be.
But I don't think it has to have a queer character. I think remaking it with queer characters, again, wouldn't cause that much of an impact in society. It would literally be a rehash. It would
be a
beautiful
rehash.
I also argued for a better division between the plot arc of Anna and Elsa.
Yes, and that's why yours is better than his, because his would simply be a rehash. Yours would be a rehash. It would basically be the same movie.
Yeah, because I want to remake this movie in a way that's going to make me happy.
But Hairspray came out in like 2007. It hasn't been that long.
Oh no, but it hasn't been queer enough since then.
I think that Pretty Woman would make a better representation because it's 2018 and we don't have hardly a single glimpse into what it's like to be a trans individual in this country.
And you're correct.
And I think that I'm tired of seeing the G and L and LGBTQ be the face of this movement, and all the other letters in this acronym are getting left behind. And I think that we need a movie that shows really spotlights an acronym, a letter of the acronym that we don't have a good view of, and also I think it would make a huge impact in society. I think it's something we've never seen before. It's a fact. You can look it up. Trans women are more likely in sex working to be abused. They're more likely to be exposed to HIV. I think it's a story that hasn't been told. It needs to be told. It will help society move forward. It'll spotlight trans people a lot more because they're not spotlighted whatsoever. And I think we need it. And I think that's what makes mine better than yours.
That's a very good art. Trans inclusivity is very abysmally low. However, I would also like to point out that I said Elsa be a member of the LGBTQ plus community. She could easily also be a trans woman. And I would also like to point out, of the three of our movies, which has had the biggest cultural reaction. Everybody is tired of hearing Let It Go, but that means you had to have been exposed to it a lot in the first place to be tired of it.
I think it's still too soon for your movies. I think they're still very new, and I think that my movie doesn't really have anything queer about it, and remaking it into something queer, that makes it more influential. That makes a bigger difference. Your guys' movies already have queer undertones. Queer kids can watch them and relate to the movies already.
And relate, but they won't know for certain if that embodies their identity. We need explicit.
The identity. We need an explicit identity in our movies. But I will say, ladies, Tyler's out for blood today.
If anything, undertones are kind of worse than not having inclusivity at all because it gives the benefit of the doubt to both sides. So 1 million moms, I think, had a problem with Let It Go because they sensed the gay undertones in it. But
Well, 3 billion moms
I
are
guess
like, this is
I have a
amazing.
problem is we're supposed to pitch a remake, but I'm like, your film is already in the making.
Your film is already in the making. Mine would be beautiful. If any of you are talented TCOM
Yours might
majors
be
and
the
know
same.
a lot of
It would
queer
be the
people,
same
I'm
make
story.
saying
Hairspray
Frozen
queer.
doesn't need a
Same-
sequel
it
in the
would
first
be
place.
the
It could just
same.
be as queer as
Hashtag
it can
make
be.
Hairspray
To
queer.
begin
That's
with.
all I
Not differ
want.
from the original Hairspray whatsoever.
I didn't hear what he said. I was
We'll go to our 30-second conclusions. We'll start with Drew, go to Kyle, and then Tyler.
Just give me a fat gay kid on TV for once. That's all I want from you.
I do
a
agree.
fat Tracy Turnblad who can sing and dance, who can move, who has friends who are different than her, and I just want a lot of gay people in one movie.
All right. And Kyle.
The issue here is understated versus explicit. I will say it as many times as necessary. Instead of guessing whether or not Elsa is a member of the LGBTQ plus community and waiting for a sequel, make her queer now.
That was my argument. I just made that argument.
And we'll finish with Tyler.
A Pretty Woman remake in the life of a trans sex worker would be extremely influential on society. It would give a look into a letter of the spectrum that doesn't get much attention unless it's negative. And trans women don't get attention unless it involves their death. It could give an insight that could truly open minds and create some empathy and help kickstart a movement for better rights for trans individuals.
Okay. I wrote a pre-written insult for Kyle that I didn't get to say. Can I say
You
it?
can say it now.
I was going to say we already have too many ice queens in the queer community. We don't need Elsa too.
Oh.
Yes.
But I forgot
Getting
to
an ice
say it.
queen right now.
Oh.
I forgot to say it.
Facts to check, Vaughn.
Everything checks out.
Sweet.
Oh, we are talented.
I was
You
worried
are,
about the 1
yeah.
million moms
Yes.
thing. Did that check out?
Oh.
I
Exactly.
didn't hear that claim.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
busy researching
Because
the
I remember
one about
hearing that
trans
1
sex
million
workers.
moms had a problem with Frozen.
Only
but
1 million?
I
Oh,
need
yeah,
you to
only 1
Facebook
million.
search 1 million mothers in the United States, Vaughn. Get back to me on that. Okay, so now it's my turn to judge. I'm gonna give first place to Tyler.
Yeah, he deserves it.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He
Second
100%.
place to Kyle.
Thank you.
Third
He
place
doesn't
to
deserve
Drew.
it, but I'll
you
take
know.
my check anyway.
Okay. Tyler, I'm giving you first place because I think you put a lot of thought, and I think you made a very good point that the T in LGBTQ plus is criminally underrepresented in movies and media. And I think your remake would give a very thorough and in-depth and nuanced look into the lives of a trans woman sex worker that just isn't viewed today. Kyle, I give you second place because I think you're right that changing from undertone to explicit is an important step into the fight for LGBTQ plus, and I think the way you've rewritten the movie would definitely help in giving people that community that support. And then Drew, I'm gonna have to give you third place because I would love to see your movie, but I think it's basically a recasting of Hairspray.
Is it not a remake? Is that not what a remake is?
No.
I'm not a TCOM major. This is a serious question.
Yes, it is a remake, but it would be exactly the same.
All right.
That's what it meant.
It's
I've been
too literal.
confused this whole time.
All right, guys.
So,
The points have already been
to
given.
recap, Tyler first place, Kyle second place, Drew third place.
But first in all your hearts.
I need you to leave.
That's another debate entirely.
Yes.
That's the fifth question, fifth question. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Cardinal Film Fights. I've been your judge, moderator, and host, Mark Rollins. Remember to like, subscribe, and retweet, and have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, winter solstice. Now it's too late for the winter solstice. Spring equinox. No, it's too late for the spring equinox. What's Earth Day? Earth Day is coming up. Have a good Earth Day. Bye.